Hey everyone, and welcome to my show. My name is Nick Elston. I'm a leading inspirational speaker, creator of unique mental health engagement strategies, a transformational speaking coach, and founder of Forging People, a community created to empower, inspire, and educate people who truly want to be heard in life and in business. On these shows, I bring you the storytellers, celebrities, speakers, influencers, entrepreneurs, those who have gone from adversity to excitement, who share their stories with vulnerability, transparency, inspiration, and most importantly, completely unfiltered. So without any further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode of The Nick Elston Show. Hey everyone, and a big welcome back to The Nick Elston Show, Season 3, Episode 8. And today, I'm really excited for this one, actually. Today, I've got an amazing guest to bring you, as always, but I promise you a different walk of life. He's probably got a couple of different walks of life, which is really cool. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Dawes.
Hello, Nick. Thanks for having me, mate. I'm really intrigued by this one, mate. I've done a few podcasts in my time and a few speaking bits, but I'm interested in what you're going to ask me. The reason is, you know, I've said this in a message and I posted it online. You were genuinely massively influential to me. Rewinding four years ago, I saw you at Now What Live and you were speaking, and I was sat there in the audience and I heard what you had to say. Speaking about your anxiety, depression, that what you've been through, what you go through, and I was sat there in the audience on my. You know, I took my daily citalopram and all that, and you know where I was. You know, I was in a totally different place. So you know, fast forward 4 years, and you know, I'm a speaker now as well, and we've got a successful business, and we've changed. You know, I don't take any medication. I've been through a whole process of really sort of learning coping mechanisms, and really changed how I live my life. And might have seen people like you and go, do you know what? There's a way through this, actually. So I'm it's like a full circle thing for me chatting to you today. So I've been really looking forward to it.
And absolutely likewise, amazing to have you on the show. Actually, for one of those reasons that it's this event here, for those watching by video, it's the Now What picture up there. That was the first one, my first kind of big kind of speaking event. In our previous guest and friend of the show, Brad Burton, was the guy who kind of brought me onto that stage, and really has been no looking back ever since. But what it also did, when I look at that lineup then that I was speaking alongside, people like Taz Thornton, who has been on the show as well, lots of different people that have gone on to kind of forge this way forward. But also, like yourself, people that were kind of influenced in the audience and have then gone on to follow that path as well. And that's the bit that I find is, I'll be honest, it's nuts. You just never know who's listening, who you're affecting. Because if I'm honest, that event, I was stood up just trying to survive delivering that talk. I wasn't thinking about who this would influence at that point. So yeah, mate, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I think that's it's an interesting path that you lead as a business owner, and a lot of people think it's almost a natural progression to do some sort of speaking thing or some way of giving back, and that ultimately is what it is. It's giving back in a way that you know how to do it, and I think that's honestly where I'm at, of a way of it's showing gratitude, you know, in a way that you can. Do you know what? I've learned a few things along the way. Here they are. You know, I've been blessed with people around me who've taught me their lessons, and I can pass them on to you, and I've learned a few myself. And that's all it is. And I absolutely love, you know, it might be someone slipping at the old DMs and all that, and just saying, do you know what? I heard you say this, mate, or I remember you saying this, or you posted this. It's really helped me do this. That is, it's golden stuff. It just makes it, you know, we're not on about changing the world. We're on about just making things go, do you know what? Have you tried this, mate? This worked for me. You can have a bit of an easier ride than what you've got now. Don't do that. Do this. And you know, it's nothing drastic. It's nothing. It's just sharing experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's legacy. I think that's the thing.
Yes.
You're creating a culture where this isn't like pull the ladder up. And if only that was adopted by the wider kind of community as a whole. If we didn't take that approach of kind of we're giving people not just the positives, which is be easy to do, if I'm honest. What we're doing is we're telling people what's gone wrong along the way as well.
You have hit the nail on the head there with the word legacy. So I spoke for 10 minutes at Now What Live 2 weeks ago at the time of this recording. That was one of the key words, legacy, because that is what it's about. It's not what you take with you, it's about what you leave behind.
Yeah,
that's what it's about in life. And not getting ultra deep, but when we come to the end, we have to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror. Do you know what? Did we make a difference? Did we push ourselves as far as we can? And I think it's something that I really discussed. I'm very, very open and honest. There wasn't Now What Live about the reality of where I'm at in my life. So I could easily quite now stop. I could say, do you know what? That's enough. Cheers, guys. Right, I've got enough money to have a comfortable lifestyle. Do what? Amazing, like so blessed. I've worked for it, etc., etc. 8 years in, right? I can just, where's my pipe and slippers? All that. Go off into the distance. Cheers, guys. Mm. But there's that thing there. I go, do you know what? Is that the right thing to do? Coming back to that gratitude, it's about giving back and making sure. Have I pushed myself as far, there's people that like to sit back and go, yeah, that's enough. But there's also like people who like to take themselves to the edge and go, do you know what? Yeah, that's my limit. Truly understand what your limit is and be comfortable with that limit. But I don't want to be one of those people who go, do you know what? I could have done that. But I didn't. And that, regret is a powerful thing in our life. And I never want to look back with regret and say, Chris, you could have done that. You couldn't have done that. So I'm not bothered if I try something and I fail. I've no problem with failure. It's a difficult lesson, but some people really struggle with it. Do you know what? I'd have rather have stood up at Now What Live 2 weeks ago and fell flat on my face than not done it. I can live. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? You learn a lesson. That's
exactly.
It.
Tell us about that then, because that's really cool. I'm really glad I caught you now, especially then. So for those not familiar, Now What Live is an event, motivational personal development event run by one of my key mentors from my journey, Brad Burton, has been on the show before. Please do check out that episode if you haven't heard it before. It's really good. But yeah, so that's one of his kind of flagship events. Mm-hmm. You were asked to be one of the keynote speakers. What did you talk about, Chris?
I just did 10 minutes. So I wasn't I wasn't a keynoter. I had a 10-minute slot because he did things slightly different this time.
Okay.
I talked about legacy, like we've discussed, purpose, facing your fear. I just really said about the realities of where I was, because there's a funny illusion, and this is another reason why it's fascinating speaking to you today. So I haven't really seen you in 4 years in reality. We don't know each other particularly well, but we're sort of on the periphery, looking at each other. So
like a stalker in the bush.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll have known Chris from 4 years ago, that anxious guy who was sat in the audience, fear factor. Greg could see that. Whereas sort of the Chris of today, well, me standing up in front of hundreds of people, it's not really a big ask. I'll do it. I've got the confidence to do that. But, I'm not like Chris from Barrow, woe is me, aren't I lucky to have a bit. Actually, 4 years, no, I've got a national organisation of 200 business. I'm an Inspire Award winner. I've won this award, all that. So I'm living a very different life. And, I was speaking about enough and that pushing yourself to the next level. I was ready 2 weeks before Now What Live to never do speaking again. Why am I doing this? Because it was that thing of, I've got no points to prove. I don't actually have to put myself through this. The thing about speaking is people just think it's like a jolly and a showboat up there. It's not actually. Sometimes you're actually speaking about some things that are quite deep and personal, and sometimes they hurt. And you're putting yourself through this, so you have to ask yourself, be honest with yourself, like, why are you putting yourself through this?
I'll be lying if I haven't said I've asked myself that question over the years.
Yeah, I mean, are you doing it what for ego, just to say you can do it, or there is that to think about, isn't there? Or because I love it. I get a massive kick up being on the front. I love it. I love that. It's not about being on there. It's those moments before when you're really popping your pants, right? It's like a drug. It's like the best drug ever, right? Because it's all on you. I love the fact it's all on me. I love that, and the fact that I've got to step up to the plate. It's all on or it's off. And I've just said, I'm here today to test myself, to ask if that feeling's enough, if I'm willing to carry on forward and actually on this journey of what's next, because it's not all jazz hands. No. It's not all about that. You have to think about if you're going to be a speaker or somebody whose profile is elevated, that it comes at a cost. Everything that you do comes at a cost. Am I willing to do it? Right. So you're going to have to give more opinions. You're going to have to more say, tell your story a little bit more. Are you willing for the flip of that? Because there will be a negative associated with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to have stuff thrown at you. He's talking crap. You're going to have digs and this, and you're going to be talking about personal stuff potentially. So that's actually people having to do it your life, right?
Yeah.
So are you willing to do that? So it's a fascinating one. I had stuff before Now What Live in my diary to ask me to speak, and I purposely didn't answer them. I had them sat there, and I had to wait for that feeling after Now What Live, because it was the feeling that was going to give me the answer. Like, are you willing to do it? And I am willing to do it. I am willing to do it, but it's going to be on my own terms.
Yeah.
In my own way. I'm not somebody who's going to do inspirational quotes and spread them all over my social media and look at all this, like, woohoo, look at this, I'll change your life and all that stuff. That's not what it's about. That's not what it's about. I'm just a guy, and this is why I connected with Brad going back there, because I'm just an average guy who's done okay, and I just want to say, do you know what? I can actually share what I've learned and give you a life that I've understood that some people find actually quite desirable. That level of contentment is actually quite obtainable. Yeah. And my coaching, my continuous coaching is with Cross Crosley.
Cross. Also been a guest on the show, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So I have a coaching call every week, because I've had to understand. Well, I made a really good decision actually years back, that I understood that my business success would not be about my technical ability or business ability. It'd be about my mindset and where my head is, and it was about me. The success and failure would lie in my head.
Yeah,
nowhere else. So I have to speak to Cross quite well every week and say, right, this is where my head's at. This is what I'm thinking, and he'll slap me around for a bit and say, stop thinking this. So everything's about maintaining myself at the level of where I am today, and not slipping me back.
Yeah.
Of Chris from Barrow, aren't I lucky to be here, and all that, and because that slips me back in the anxiety bit as well, doesn't it? It totally shifts you right back. So everything I do is about maintaining my mental ability to say in this zone right now, to be Chris the business owner, Chris the successful, all that of this is where I am, because I can't. What I'm dealing with at the moment, if I have to go back a few years, just makes no sense to that guy whatsoever.
Yeah, I think you're quite right. I think you touched on several things that are really crucial, and there are some kind of misconceptions, I think, around speaking, like especially professionally. I think, professionally just means you've been paid once. So I think, like you said, there's quite a thing that's banded around quite a lot to be a speaker. Do you ever ask yourself why you want to do that? Like you said, probably not, but it is a really powerful point that we need to ask ourselves why we're doing anything in life or in business. And you're quite right. It's that bit before an event. And it's something I focus on so my audience, just for your information, will be made up of different people from different audiences of mine, or speaking academies I've run, that kind of stuff. So some will understand this if they've been through the process, but it's about kind of going into things with a neutral mindset, weirdly, that I don't ever anticipate something's going to go well. So I bloody work harder for it. And I also never anticipate things are going to go badly. So I'm not coming on from a position of fear. And it's about the 2.5 minutes for me. I know before any event, even though I do this every day, every year for my kind of professional life, that I will always have 2.5 minutes of anxiety before I deliver. And because I know my playbook on how to work through that involves country music and walking and not sitting down and all the other things, then that means that actually after 2.5 minutes, I find my flow. But one of the biggest things that I do to counter that, to help me through that, is I always tell an audience, whether it's 10,000 people or one person, I always tell people exactly how I'm feeling. So I will go on to stage like, I'm really anxious right now. Who the hell wouldn't be? I'm just about to bear myself to 10,000 accountants, that kind of thing. But here's the thing, and this is what I love about what you do as well. The thing is by giving that vulnerability, by giving that authenticity and honesty, it does two things. Firstly, got a laugh. Tough gig to get a laugh. The second thing is that people want you to succeed. Despite what you hear on the news, what you see on social media, essentially humans are good. They want you to succeed if you only show them what your challenges are. And what I love about you share your challenges. And not just from the community that we were in for quite a while together and in now what community, but publicly. Even today, I was kind of seeing your LinkedIn stuff when I was doing my research. I am smarter than I look. I do my research. But you give the reality, good or bad, positive or negative, rough and smooth. How has that been in that 4-year period since we met?
There'd be a lot of, there's a lot of external voices out there that would say, don't do that. That projection of, look, I'm like heavily on brand, and when we go out, everything's on brand and all glossy and all that, and the jazz hands are out. But that is what I found is not where the magic happens, particularly for our business, in the fact that I think we've got kind of a unique angle in the fact that we are a husband and wife team and a family business. We've really understood that is what sells it and what people are interested in. So it's kind of pushed me naturally in that to say, do you know what, we're a husband and wife, we're just trying to make our way in the world. That's where, so we can give an insight, and like everyone knows Charlie the dog and the office, all that, it's just a reality of the situation. And again, it just makes it, do you know what, you can have a bit of this as well. You can achieve this. And, I've got other larger in quotes, web companies who would never operate like this. But they're never going to be quite as happy as what we are. And I don't mean that to have a stab at them, but I just don't think they're going to be quite as comfortable and enjoying it as what they are. And I think because it's a family business, we understand that, this work business life balance is a lot of old tosh, that scruffy monkey is just part of our life. So it gives us all the rewards directly. So we have a great relationship with our business, and it means we can have a little bit more fun with it. And although there is a time when I take things very seriously, if you go back 3 or 4 hours today, I was taking things very seriously. right. So I've just had to maintain to my reason of doing it, my purpose. It was to get over the anxiety and the depression and all that. Why at first I couldn't take anymore. And the same was for when Lindsay had to start it. She'd have enough of her profession. I had to be selfish enough in creating, right, I'm starting my own business, sorry, right, all the pressure on Lindsay. She had to go through that. But what I've done, I've been able to repay that. And it means we've really valued the life that we have and the business that we have, and we treasure it and look after it in what I think it can be quite a unique way. And I've just had to really keep having a word and reevaluating where I am at to stay true to that core purpose. And that going back to speaking, you could quite easily veer off. So you hang on, right? Okay, you did this, so you wanted to spend time with your daughter. That was a primary thing. You weren't willing to do the whole corporate thing anymore. So, right, well, if you're going to speak, sometimes you might have to work away a bit. You have to have nights. Are you going to miss anything? Are you going to? It's how it fits in. This business stroke life will have failed in its mission if I'm starting to chip away at things like that.
Yeah. And success is subjective, isn't it? And that's the thing. It's your definition of success.
Mate, I feel successful. There's 2 times of the day that I feel successful because it's a feeling. It's when I get out of bed in the morning because I'm not worried about going to work. Yeah, my tummy's not rumbling and IBS and all that stress of thinking about going to work like I used to get. Yeah. And it's a dead simple thing of an evening. I'm sat in my chair, in my corner of the room. Lindsay, my wife's in the other chair in the room. We're watching absolute nonsense on the telly or on our iPads at the same time. And we're just not worrying about anything.
Yeah, that's cool. I think certainly with so for those who don't know, actually, we haven't actually gone there. You are Chief Monkey, I believe is your title. I quite like that.
Yeah, self-anointed.
Self-anointed, yeah. Founder of Scruffy Monkey award-winning website agency. That's correct.
Yeah, I like to just throw that in just because.
Nice. But actually, when we look at speaking, actually one of the reasons why people within the professional realms aspire to speak with a capital S is that they want to be that kind of key person of influence within their industry. So we're very much talking about personal journeys, personal stories, probably in the majority of the occasions, but actually it has to be said that you can become known within your industry through being able to deliver your message. Precisely.
And that is kind of where I'm irking in the back of my mind to actually unsettle's probably a strong word, but actually speak more in the digital marketing arena about what's actually going on there. I don't like how it projects itself. I want it to almost go back to core values, which is I think going back to that family vibe and just being open and honest and working with people, making it about the people again. And I just want to educate people a bit about how we've actually built this thing that works and make it obtainable to perhaps people who might be starting out in the digital marketing arena, website, whatever. And I think that's probably where I'll actually go. I'll probably niche it down a little bit like that. And I love working and I love seeing people just being happy and successful. So that might just be it might even be a startup businesses.
Yeah.
But you know what? This is how you do it. Oh, you're interested in web design business? Well, here's the tools. Here's what you need. I can advise you. Listen to what I've learned. These are all the mistakes I've made. Take them. You
mentioned the family business element. I mean, it's actually one of the things I've kind of spoken about before in certain places where my mum and dad have come from a family business, which in all honesty didn't end well. But I've also spoken to other people within that space who coach family businesses. Working with people that you're close to is tough sometimes. How have you found that experience?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. Ultimately, that there has to be a leader. And so that Chief Monkey, that's me. But I've actually found some of it really easy. And the bits that were found easy is naturally finding our roles, because if you think as a husband and wife, we already know what our strengths and weaknesses are in our personal life. So sussing out what's a Lindsay and what's a Chris job is really, really easy. So Lindsay is systems, process, anything that requires a brain. It's Lindsay, right? Anything that's jazz hands, way of speaking to people, and the sales side of stuff, and more the creative side. That's me. So we've naturally found it. But what we don't do, we were discussing this with somebody last week. We don't. There's no right. It's 5:00 now. Shut the door. Don't speak about business again. We are in. So this is what, for those that can see it, I'm in a posh shed basically in the back of the garden. It's not a case of all work happens in here and then we walk out of this room and then it's not discussed ever again until we walk back in. That's just not realistic. Yeah. So there will be the odd chat. There will be the odd, remind us tomorrow, I need to ring that guy. What's he doing? I'm still waiting on that email. It's stuff like that. We just understand what Scruffy Monkey is. It's just part of our life, and it doesn't need to be anything more spectacular than that. I love the fact, and I think this must just apply to all business owners. I can't say because I'm within a husband and wife all the time. I absolutely adore sitting in our house and thinking, do you know what we've done and what we've created has paid for this.
Are you truly being heard in life, in education, in business? Your ability to deliver any message with clarity, power, and emotion will have an ultimately defining impact on your success, personally and professionally. Forging People, founded by Nick Elston, is an online community developed to empower, inspire, engage, and educate you to truly step up. Complete with online courses, early access to in-person coaching and events, free resources, and a community of like-minded people, Forging People will help you manage anxiety, boost confidence, and give you the tools to speak to any audience, whether it's one person or 1 million people. Speaking is more than just standing on stage. Speaking is business. Speaking is leadership. Speaking is influencing. Speaking is life. Contact Nick's team today on pa@nickelston.com or visit nickelston.com today to register your interest. This is the sign you've been looking for.
I mean, it's a self-employed thing. I absolutely love that. Or the family holidays and whatever it is. That's the magic that I don't want to see ever end.
Yeah, I love that.
It's absolutely magical. I'm sure more self-employed people get it, but I just take that moment every now and again and go, bloody hell, this is all right, isn't it?
But you're right, it is that moment. I mean, as we record this on the 5th of October, but this week I realised actually it was another work anniversary, another year of actually kind of paying my own way in the world. And that you just give yourself a little bit of a pat on the back because let's face it, day to day, we don't do that, do we really?
Absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I love this is a cross thing that is really instilled to us. It is really enjoying the journey and fully feeling the benefit of what we're doing. So I constantly have a treat. So it doesn't have to be anything major financially, it's just a little bit of something, but it feeds you and you're fully feeling the benefit because a lot of people are waiting for that thing. Right, it's okay, you can get that now. They're waiting for that magical time. That right. Well, when is that?
Yeah.
So a lot of it is you've really got to live your success in all areas of your life. So I've really changed it in. Even down to the food I eat, right? Where I get the takeouts, where I do that, the clothes I wear, where I'll go shopping, the treats. Oh, we won't go in a standard hotel. We'll have a slightly nicer hotel. It's shifting your life in line with your success because it's quite easy to just stay back there and waiting for that day that might never actually come. When is that? When are you waiting for that tick box? Right. And the more you live that in the present, the more you will attract and succeed anyway. It's massively important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I think that's really cool. So you mentioned and you've alluded to, again, that vulnerability piece that when we first met 4 years ago, using medication for things like anxiety, depression, that kind of stuff. What was kind of like speaking aside, what was kind of your journey like over those 4 years? What kept you going? What kind of got you away from that point? How did you persevere and forge through?
Well, it's getting off the meds and stuff.
Yeah.
I just had some really I couldn't understand process what the end game was. I'd had repeated conversations with the doctor, like, how can I get off these things? What's the end? Can I wean off them? Oh, you can try. And it was almost like they didn't really want to get me off them. Yeah. It was too easy to give me it, and I just saw like people like yourself, like I have to find a coping mechanism to get through this. This isn't right. And I didn't see it as a sign of failure, but I saw it as a sign of I'm not moving on. I've invested so much of my time in terms of personal development. Well, surely a key indicator of success for that would be the removal of that. What's been massively important, this is where my geeky nerdy level goes to like above, you know, my coping mechanism was actually going back to something from my youth. So what you can't see, because these are the empty cabinets, but on the other cabinets that are in my office, I'm massive into Star Wars, as most people know. But Star Wars, I specifically do a lot of modeling and crafts.
Oh, nice.
And creative work. So I've got I've got some non-Star Wars stuff. So I've made and painted this and all sorts of stuff. Loads of things. So I use that very much as a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
So I've learned to program myself. Do you know what, Chris? You're getting a little bit angsty. I know I've learned to check myself in when my emotions can go up here and then they'll dip really quickly. So I'm constantly up and down instead of a level, and that you know I can get quite emotional. To be honest, I'm not even like watching TV. Like, oh, Jesus Christ. You know, I'm starting to like things can really start to get to me on quite an emotional level, and that's when I know a little bit of a timeout needed here.
Yeah.
So I've constantly got a project that I'm working on. So I'm doing a Mandalorian at the moment that I'm painting. So I'll wicked, mate. So basically, I spend my time when I'm doing that. It allows me a level of focus, because when I'm doing that, the outside world just kind of happens to be around me. When I'm painting, I can only concentrate on or putting stuff together, whatever I'm doing. I can only focus on that.
Yeah.
And it just brings the levels down somewhat, and it just allows me to breathe. And I think it's just having that thing that is just for me. Another one that's been critical, and I've done it just prior to this recording with you, is I have a Spotify playlist. So when you talked about going on stage, I play the same Spotify. So I've got my AirPods on 10 minutes before, and I have a minute. There you go. So I have a mini playlist of 5 or 6 Star Wars tunes. They're really like special and unique to me because they take me back to a moment in time. So I'm right, boom, boom, boom. I'm activating that. Right, I've heard that tune. And it's like my brain's reprogrammed itself that it goes right. Okay, we're on, right, go. And I just need that. So I will listen to them tunes pretty much every day in one way. I just know that I need programming. I need to keep that programming going so I don't slip back. So it really is it's self-medication, but in a different way, and we'll all have our unique ways of dealing with things.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also is important to say, of course, absolutely medication has its place for people.
I know. Well, see your doctor.
But that aside, I think you're right. And it's interesting, like whoever I've kind of spoken to with that kind of lived experience on the show and away from the show, of course, it's always been like a menu of things that have helped them. It's been different things and different bits and different people, different lines from books, different things they've heard. And it's kind of, this is why this kind of thing I use, like this playbook, and it's about building your own playbook, what works for you. Because you as a Star Wars fan, that motivates you, that lifts you. And somebody that didn't like that, it wouldn't do that. Exactly. So there's no rule book for this shit, is it? It's just we're all kind of doing the best we can.
It is, and we're all uniquely wired. Our triggers are different. What causes anxiety for one person won't for the next. I know. So my anxiety kicked in at the same time, all the time. So when I'd have a shower, I would be playing out the day of what's happening. So what I was doing was I was creating scenarios in my head of possible things that could go wrong or bad things that could happen. And then what I would do is I would have that one, and it would create another scenario where and all of a sudden I had about 40, 50 scenarios in a 10-minute shower.
Yeah.
Of things that could go bad and things that could go wrong. So that so having a shower, the missus knows why I'm so long in the shower now. It's
really?
yeah. So, I've had to learn that, listen to music in the showers and focus on that and really imagine how good people might hear it say, well, what's he on about? I'm just having a shower. But that was a trigger for me. So I had to understand where those danger points and those flare-ups were in my day.
Such an important point. I mean, and it is one of the key messages from what I talk about is kind of anxiety is created in the assumed outcome to our pursuits, conversation, events, and meetings, all kind of different stuff. Very rarely is it in the truth.
Yeah,
and that kind of. I'll use a very basic example. I love basic examples, but I was delivering to a school fairly recently, and a young lady said what really makes her anxious is when she messages her friend and her friend doesn't message her back. Mm-hmm. But that's not what makes her anxious. That's a transaction. It's a message. Yeah. What's making her anxious is the story she's telling herself.
She's story to tell it. Exactly. And I've learned to deal with that in not just in personal life, in business, and, in trying to, I could be waiting on a reply if I've got a deal or I haven't got a deal or how the contract's going or what. And I've just had to, a cross lesson that he really instilled on me is deal in real.
Yeah.
And the reality of just be in the moment, and you can only cope with what's going on right now.
Absolutely.
Right now. So I've just got to. I've really had to learn to, and this is just business in general, really. It's just all that external noise needs to be turned off.
Yeah.
So as I've grown as a person and my business has grown, I've not took on more information. I've honed the information. I've honed it. So it's not got bigger. It's got smaller and it's more directed focus. That's how I've been able to move forward.
Absolutely. I think that's an important message in there as well. And I think that also comes with, like you said, experience, but also comes with just knowing your stuff, I think, and knowing the direction you've got.
Yeah.
From what we've been speaking about already, you've got ultimate clarity on what success looks like to you and kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, we've spoken about where you've come from. We've spoken about where you are right now. What's the bigger picture for Chris Dawes?
It's a great question. And, you'd get a person who go, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And I don't know. And I'm okay with that.
I don't know. I love that. It's good.
I don't know. Yeah. And that's it. In year 2, I'm going to do this. In year 3, shut up. No, I don't know. I don't know because we're in another growth spurt for Scruffy Monkey.
Yeah.
So things that I didn't think were possible or didn't want, I've actually worked out. Do you know what? Actually, it is possible, and maybe you do want it. So additional services and stuff. So we've now got, we've got a bigger team now that I never thought I'd have. We was like, so right, SEO services, we're going for it. We're now going to bolt this on. We're going to bolt that on. Because as I've got better as a business owner and learned the importance of processes and things like that, over a moment, it's not as big a headache for me if I actually work on things like processes and things like that. So I'm interested in the growth of that. Speaking is going to be a plaything, and I'm going to treat it as a plaything. It's not going to be an additional business or that. It's just going to naturally evolve. And saw an opportunity. Why have we not asked Nick to go on his podcast? Right, let's ask him. It's going to be nothing more than that, and spotting opportunities and just saying, yeah, I can do that, and just naturally evolve. Finding that new enough. That I thought I'd had enough, but it's that looking back and going back full circle. It's knowing back, looking in the mirror and saying, do you know what? Have you pushed yourself? That you're willing to say you've done your best, and I'm not quite there yet. I think there's more in the bag, but I think I'm wise enough now, and mentally aware enough to know when that time will come.
And I think that'll serve you well. I think actually. Let's face it, how we live, learn, and work 2 years ago is very different to how we live, learn, and work today. The reality could be very different in a month or 3 months. So actually, I think it's that kind of, for want of a better word, a curious mindset, that uncertain mindset. Actually, I think that could win the day, if I'm honest. I think the problems come from when you have this kind of like completely rigid idea, like you said, of exactly where you want to go. And so that's kind of where things start to fall apart. Because we need to change. Change is constantly the biggest anxiety trigger when I'm speaking to
hugely. You know,
it's inevitable. Change is inevitable. So it's about our relationship with change and how we navigate that. And the things that you've spoken about today are a testament to that, I think.
Yeah, I've had to learn to love change. I can almost be anxious now in the reverse if I don't experience change. I used to have massive problems with it. Actually, massive problems with it. Going back to my mental health issues, I remember when so me and my wife, that wasn't my wife back then, but we had a house together within 6 months of meeting each other, and I thought, this is great. Whoa, I didn't see this coming. All of a sudden, I've got someone who loves me and just wants to meet a beef, even with all the issues that I've got. She just wanted, whoa, and it's been constant because I had so much change in my life. All of a sudden, everything was static and the same, but it was good.
Yeah,
that I'd throw a virtual grenade in it. Yeah. Right, I've got to muck this up somehow. Right, how can I do that? So I'd kick off a little bit. And that was a mindset thing. That was part of it. That you actually should be having anxiety. Throw it in. So I used to naturally mess myself up.
Fascinating.
So I've had to learn that things being just constant, a straight line, like things are good. So don't upset the apple cart and enjoy the ride. And if you're gonna push on with a few things, understand that things are going to go up. There's going to be a bit of an upward curve, but you're going to want to level it out again.
Yeah.
And that's where it's at. It's not about all going up. It's about a constant, steady stream of things happen. And that's where your fulfillment and your full enjoyment will come of just being, it's going back to me and Lynn's being sat in that chair of an evening and just being, that's where it's at.
Yeah, absolutely. See, one rabbit hole I didn't think I was going to go down until I was browsing your LinkedIn profile was this.
Right.
So you used to work for Blackburn Rovers Football Club.
That's right.
So working in the football industry. So to set the context of this kind of avenue we're strolling down, very recently we had the executive director of Bristol Rovers Football Club talking about the kind of the challenges or actually the business of football and how it's very different to any other form of business because it's fueled by emotion, both negative and toxic potentially, or positive and kind of happy clapping kind of thing. Yeah. What was your experience of working in a football club and actually a bigger football club, that has to be said?
Yeah, and that's what pushed me over the edge, Nick. That's why I decided to go on my own. So when so it's Blackburn Rovers Football Club, I was IT manager and I became head of business operations near the end of my time there. Mm-hmm. I loved it when I started there. So I was there for eight years, family tradition, etc. And it was just about the people, lovely. But Blackburn Rovers was part of a big takeover while I was there from Venky's.
Right, okay,
yeah. So as with any takeover, it can be quite an upheaval to core values and stuff that's going on and change of staff and all that. And the atmosphere. Sorry, Blackburn Rovers fans, and don't want to get into, but it's quite toxic. It was quite toxic. In I was spending a lot of my time experiencing friends getting fired, I was clearing people's desks, all that, and my anxiety was just I didn't realize how ill I was actually at the time. There's pictures of me, and I was massively underweight. Massively just unrecognizable. People have seen pictures like, is that you? Wow. I'm pretty unrecognizable. I didn't realize how far gone that I was. The clubs turned the corner and they had to go through that that process. But I just fully understood that you're always going to have that devil on your shoulder of it could be you that goes next. It could be you, and you know, it's a mad thing to think about that your life is controlled by somebody kicking a ball in the back of a net, or somebody thousands of miles away deciding to make a change for whatever reason. And I mean, I had a situation where I've never actually told anyone this, but I remember I asked for some holiday leave and it was denied, and it was during the summer holidays, so it was a key time for myself and Lindsay. She was a teacher at the time, and they weren't going to give me it, and I was kicking off in one of the director's office saying, why are you not going to give it? And I remember going home and I had a full-on panic attack to the point where I was proper, like my wife I had to get a paper bag just so I could breathe and go through it. And this is the things that people don't go. I was like, I can't actually take any more, you know, that struggling to get out of bed, to get in my car, to go to work, to know what I was going to deal with that day. And it was I have such a funny relationship with it looking back, because I made some amazing friends there.
Yeah.
But I also had difficult times, but I understand now those difficult times have brought me to where I am today. So I had to go through them. So it reminds me of why I'm doing what I'm doing now, because I don't experience or have to experience that anymore.
And so are you a fan of a club?
No, I didn't even like football when I worked there. So it's you know, a football club is and should be a business. So it actually allowed me to have that level of separation. I enjoyed going to see some games and all that. But yeah, it's fascinating. Look back, you know, everyone's always curious that I work there, and what's really interesting actually is I've just got a new VA, and it's actually someone that I used to work with at Blackburn. So I've kind of come back to that, because we've been through a similar experience and we know why we're doing it, and I actually saw real value in that. And that, you know what, when you're starting your own business, you know what, I can help you as well, just like I started Scruffy Monkey to get away from some of the pressures that they were experiencing. But people are going to get that, not just in football clubs going through some bad times and all that. And I've just got to look back at it and actually be thankful for it, actually, and not. It's so easy to say, yeah, fucking crap and all that lot. I hated it. Look what it did to me. Look what I had to go through.
Yeah.
But I have to be thankful to, you know what, it taught me so many lessons in my life about what's important, and allowed me to make the decisions that I've made. You know, I was inspired during the end of my time there, that I was managing an enterprise center there, that I was interacting with business owners every day. And I was asking myself the question, well, what makes them so special? Why can't I do that?
Yeah.
What? So that inspired me to say, you know what? Do you know what? Why can't I start my own business? So it's yin and yang, isn't it? You know, you've got a bad experience, you've got good experience. So I'm thankful for all the crap that I had to go through with it.
Do you know what? Again, it aligns so well. I love the kind of that synergy or the commonality of people that come onto the show. Like you said, we attract our own audience, don't we, by who we are and what we put out and that kind of stuff. Last week, on last week's episode, we had an amazing guy called Gareth Keat, who spoke about his experiences in the police force, which were not positive at all, but it's led him to do amazing things under his own umbrella since. And I like that. And I think that's the reason why I called my business Forging People, was because in life, we can either let those adversities and challenges define us negatively for the rest of our days. That is a choice. Or actually we can choose for it to forge something better, something powerful, something beautiful, something that wouldn't have existed without you going through your crap in the first place. So I love the fact I'm speaking to you like the other side of all that as well, because that was instrumental in reaching where you are, as you said.
Exactly. And you've hit on such an important word there of choice. I know there's a complicated process in getting over whatever we're dealing with mentally, but when we actually understand that there's a real simplicity to understanding that it is a choice, and it comes down to control as well, of realizing that actually you are in control of a lot of the situations that you think you're not in control of. So you're not being a control freak. You're actually saying, do you know what? This is my space. This is my mind. I'm in charge of my life, and I can make decisions and use whatever's happened for good and bad. Yeah. It's nothing more complicated than that.
I think that's the problem when it comes to mental health challenges. I think the first thing we sacrifice is choice. We go with the ebb and flow of just life, and then it becomes worse. We immerse ourselves in the wrong things, the wrong distraction techniques, the wrong things to make us better, or the ebb and flow of other people's lives. And we give away that right to choose. So, I think that's actually a really important point to kind of start to wrap up on. So the question I like to ask all of my guests, and it forms part of a playlist that'll be available at the end of the season, is this. To set the scene, I'm now the MC of the O2 Arena in London. 20,000 people have paid their hard-earned money to hear Chris Dawes do his thing. You're sat in the green room, you're sat backstage, and you hear your walk-on music kick in. That song that motivates you, that lifts you, that gets you pumped into peak state. You've kind of alluded to where we could go with this already. What would be your walk-on track to that stage event? What would it be? And why?
So, a lot of the fans are going to be disappointed with the track, right? If they're not a Star Wars fan. But it is that one key track that I play, and it is Star Wars: A New Hope, and it is the throne room track at the end of the film. So when they all walk in, it's that. That gets me going every single time.
So that and every other track from season 3 will be available on a playlist at the end of the season. Stay tuned for that. But for now, give it up, Mr. Chris Dawes.
Thank you, mate. Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being on the show and giving up your time to be with us. Please do connect. I'm sure Chris will be happy to hear from you and connect with you and everything else.
Pleasure.
His contact details are in the bio. Please do look him up. Strongly recommend that you do on lots of different levels. So stay tuned for next week. We have an amazing episode lined up next week as well. So please stay tuned for that. But for now, be well, stay happy, and take care. See you soon, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye. And that's a wrap. A big thank you for tuning into today's episode. Please do leave us a like and hit subscribe for the fantastic upcoming episodes that I will be bringing to you, featuring more amazing guests. But for now, be well, be happy, be safe, and remember, as I always say, it's what you do next that counts. Until next time on the Nick Elston Show, take care. I'll see you soon. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.